Armstead, founder of Musicals for Change and composer of Shh at the Sugar Cube Cafe. This is a fun show which partners with Hungry for Music, a worthy organization that provides instruments to ensembles and to individuals, children who need instruments. Because every child deserves the opportunity to learn how to play an instrument. This show is not difficult to produce. We have directions in the director's guide, but I will give you a few extra tips, tell you how we produce the show. You may want to do things differently, but I'll tell you what worked for us. There are 3 primary sets for this show. The first is outdoors on the street in Ballyhoo. This street has 3 businesses. Cheryl's Sugar Cube Cafe, which we put in the center of the 3 businesses. The Leaf Me in Peace Florist or Nursery, which is on one side. As you were facing the stage, we put it on the right side of the Sugar Cube. And then on the other side of the Sugar Cube is the scented candle shop, Heaven Scent Candles. And each one of our shops was about 4 feet wide. When we make a set, we use large 4x8 sheets of insulating foam, 1/2 inch thick, from the hardware store. And we paint what we want on it, and then we put it against a wooden frame. We had doors, working doors, in each one of those businesses. Now, the businesses were not very wide. The Sugar Cube was wider than the other 2 businesses because it's the primary focus. But if you don't have working doors, you can still manage to make entrances and exits. I think your audience will understand. But we did have 3 entrances and exits through those businesses. Another set is the inside of the cafe, which is a coffee shop. We had, I believe, 3 round tables with chairs at them. There was a long countertop where you would order your coffee. And then there were 2 long countertops, about 4 feet long, that were where some of the patrons sat and drank their coffee. So this provided seating for quite a few members in the cast, especially at the Sugar Cube Cafe. And because in that Sugar Cube scene, the patrons are supposed to be diligently working at laptops, reading, primarily working, we faced the students who were on the 2 countertops, long countertops, about 8 feet across total, facing the back of the stage. And then when it was time for them to sing or interact in some way, they turned around. They were sitting on stools, they just turned around. And that way, they didn't have to be acting the entire time. And what they were doing was not detracting from what the leads were doing and the dialogue that they were speaking. So those countertops that we used are on wheels, and there will be building directions for those on our website under the Resources tab for Shh at the Sugar Cube. They are ideal for not just the countertops in the coffee shop, but if you flip them around on the other side, we use them as a half-wall backdrop in the next scene, which is Grandma's house in her spare bedroom. So those 3 countertops on wheels were useful for both the bedroom scene and for the coffee shop scene as well. Also, one of those countertops was used with a solid front, again, like we used in the wall in Grandma's bedroom, was a tall desk for the city council members to sit behind in the last scene, or almost the last scene. So those carts served us very well. So I would highly recommend a versatile piece like that. We had 3 of them, about 6 feet long, 4 feet high, on wheels, about 4 feet wide. They're pretty narrow. The most difficult scene to set in this show is the coffee shop, simply because there are tables, chairs, stools, carts. There's a lot there. And so when you teach that scene, you'll have to teach the staging like it is a dance. And so you have to practice who's going to bring in which table, make sure the tables are set and the carts are set first before the chairs. When you change the set, they'll have to know exactly where each of those pieces goes and in what order so that there is not chaos. That's the trickiest scene simply because there are a lot of parts to it. Of course, I don't know what kind of situation you have for your set. When Keisha is in the Sugar Cube Cafe and she's told to go outside and shoo away the buskers, our stage had a staging in front of it that was just a foot or so lower. And so Keisha went down some steps and onto the staging in front just to indicate that she was outside the Sugar Cube. And on that staging was the busker, was Cam playing the cello. So it was simply a different area from the Sugar Cube, just slightly set apart. You could also, for scenes like where Keisha and Landon are at Grandma's house and she's playing her homemade cello, it can be any area that just is slightly separate from the rest of the stage. In this particular show, we kept the Ballyhoo street scene on stage the entire time. And we tried to also drop a backdrop for the Sugar Cube and for the bedroom at Grandma's house. And it was simply a backdrop that looked like there were 3 large windows. And so if you use a backdrop in the cafe scene, it just looks like the people who are sitting at the countertops with their backs to the audience are facing the windows as they're working, as you would see in many coffee shops. In the bedroom scene, that backdrop, again, was just big windows, and the primary purpose of it was just to cover up the street scene that was on stage permanently behind it with those 3 businesses. However, if you can't do that, let the audience use their imagination. I'm sure they'll understand if there are 2 beds there, they're at Grandma's house. So it's up to you how you would like to do that. Regarding the bedroom scene, this bedroom is a spare room at Grandma's, so it doesn't have to look wonderful. It's like anybody's spare room. Things don't have to match necessarily. The beds don't have to be wonderful. If you have 2 foldable cots that you can put out quickly and fold up again quickly, that's great. We didn't have room backstage to put very many items. So we made makeshift beds using solid wooden cubes for a base and a gym mat on the top of it. The cubes that I'm referring to are 18 by 18-inch wooden plywood cubes with handholds carved into them that we use for everything. We've got 8 of them. We put 3 of them together in a long row, put a gym mat on the top of it. We also sewed bedding together. So we had a dust ruffle attached to a sheet and comforter and made it like a big duvet cover. The mattress just slid right into it. And so it was all one piece. So the kids put out their 3 cubes, then they put the mattress on the top with the pillow and all the bedding on it. So it was pretty quick. And we had 2 of those, one for Landon and one for Keisha. I've also seen the show done with army cots, easier kinds of bedding. Whatever works for you is fine. You could put a nightstand out if you wanted, but whatever you put on stage, you're going to have to take off again. So you wouldn't want to put too much. Keisha walks to the window. She refers to the sounds coming from the window. We don't have a window. You just kind of use your imagination. She moves to the side as if she's listening to what's happening outside on the street. That's how we did the bedroom scene. One of the scenes is the city council meeting, and it does not have to be anything other than a table or one of those carts that I talked about earlier, and some stools for the city council members to sit at. We did add an insignia, a sign that hung from the front of it to indicate that they were conducting an official proceeding. And because it's the City of Ballyhoo, it has City of Ballyhoo on a round logo. We put in the noisiest instrument or animal we could think of, which was a rooster, as the logo. You could do whatever you would like there, but hanging that logo on the front just made the city council seem more official. It just took place in front of the street scene in Ballyhoo. For the people attending the meeting, the buskers were on one side, business owners were on another side. You could have them stand. We had long benches that they sat at. Some of them did stand. When the buskers played on the street, you could have them sit on a bench. We used the 3 wooden cubes that I have spoken about, 18 by 18 inches, plywood, very sturdy. They're open on the bottom for most of them. We also have a couple of them that are boxes with lids that open, which is very convenient. When you need a prop on stage, you can put it in one of those cubes and have it ready to pull out. So our buskers sat on those cubes to play their buckets. And there are bucket drums parts that come along with the show. If you would like your drummers to play, they are not too difficult. If they're too difficult for them, just have your bucket drummers just keep a nice steady beat. There are a couple places where something else has to happen. Landon is supposed to do a kind of a cool bucket drum solo. It doesn't have to be wonderful, but if you can have something that's a little better than a steady beat, that would be very impressive. We used buckets from, as you can see, Home Depot. They weren't very expensive, and I'm not providing a bucket drum tutorial, although there are many on YouTube. We tried to write parts that were accessible for kids who are beginners. So all you need is a bucket for each one of your bucket drummers, your buskers, and a set of drumsticks, and just some very basic lessons on how to drum. Now, the kids do need to know that these can be loud, and so when you have several of the kids playing, they can't be playing too loud because they'll drown out the singing. There are things that you can put onto the top. You can put some kind of a vinyl dot or different kinds of muting fabric or something to affix to the top of this, just so it mutes it a little bit more and isn't quite so loud if it's overpowering your singers. This prop is one of my favorite parts of the show. As you can see, our cello is not a working cello. Yours probably should not be either unless you have a kid who plays the cello well and would like to try it. But it does look beautiful. You don't have to decorate yours like this, but if you would like to, it certainly makes Cam's character a little more interesting. We don't have strings on it because they weren't really playing it. We didn't want to hear anything. We just wanted our student to mime playing the cello. Plus, it makes a nice keepsake after the show is all done. So find an old cello, paint it, decorate it, and teach your student who plays Cam some basic things about how to hold a bow and how to appear to be playing. You might want to get a cellist to do a little lesson with your Cam character. Also in the show, Landon tries to make a cello for Keisha. and he's not very successful. And so yours should not look great either. We used a cardboard box and a piece of wood and some wire, and of course it looked terrible, and it should. And the kids enjoyed making that. So I hope that your kids do too. I hope that this video has been helpful to you. As I said, there are also directions in the director's guide for the show. And on our resources drop-down menu on our website, musicalsforchange.com. We also provide a copy of the logo for both the t-shirt, promotional materials, and plans for building those carts. So if you have any questions, please feel free to contact us at musicalsforchange@gmail.com or on the contact form that is on our website. We'd be happy to help. Best wishes. I hope you have a wonderful show. I hope the kids enjoy it. Break a leg. In the quiet, I hear